everyone, and welcome to Poetry Street. This is the room without a roof where every voice is heard. And we're so happy that you're here at the free Riverhead Public Library and also all of you on Zoom in the comforts of your own home. Welcome to Poetry Street. Thank you. Thank you. Now, before we start, we always want to acknowledge whose land we're standing on. New York has always been the gathering and trading place for many of the indigenous people. We acknowledge that we are guests on this land. Poetry Street and our work in the area of Long Island is situated on the ancestral and unceded lands of the Lenape, who are the original caretakers. Also the Canarsie, the Shinnecock, the Montaukett, the Reckonwalk, the Mansay, and the Haudenosaunee. We acknowledge and respect the many indigenous people who live on this land and continue to make ongoing contributions. Ladies and gentlemen, again, we are so happy that you're here. We're so happy to have our founders and our features today. And now it is my great honor to introduce you to my co-host, the wonderful, the beautiful, the talented, Emmy Award-winning Maggie Bloomfield.
Good afternoon, everybody, and happy Labor Day, and welcome again to Poetry Street, the room without a roof where every voice is heard. Today's a special day for us all. It's going to be an incredible reading today. I think most of you know a little bit about how Poetry Street came to be. Uh, 10 years ago, Susan Dingle and Bobby Brown and the Jumpstart program in Riverhead, East End Arts, Patricia Snyder, all came together and developed a project, and it was called Poetry Street. And for years, we met at the Blue Duck Bakery through the courtesy of Nancy Kouris. Uh, then, then, unfortunately, the bakery closed. The bakery closed, and we moved. And then COVID happened, and we were without a home for a while. And then, thanks to Pam Cook and the library here in Riverhead, we were invited to make this library and Zoom our home. I do want to welcome you guys, and I want to welcome everybody on Zoom today. Uh, we're going to have only two features today because Steve Borodkin had a family issue out west and had to skip town, much to his chagrin and our disappointment. But we have two wonderful readers, I think. Is Beryl on? Skip. Oh, Beryl. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Yes, we have two readers in person, which is absolutely great. After they read, and they will read for 15 to 20 minutes, we'll have an open mic. We have some rules about the open mic. We don't have a huge crowd, but we ask you to limit yourself to one poem, okay? One poem, 3 minutes tops. Otherwise, we get the hook and drag you from the room. Well, we've all been to poetry readings where people just go on and on and on. We don't allow that here, but we certainly welcome you all to read today. I'm going to introduce. The community poem. I knew I was forgetting something. That there's a jar back there. I asked you to write a line on a piece of paper, put it in that jar, and I will bring a poem assembled from whatever's in there next month. And I do have one from last month. It's very short. We only had 3 people contribute. I hope it's not controversial to anyone. This is the poem. Walking on the beach while drunk on Kool-Aid It's all good now. Kamala rules. And now to our features. Beryl, I'm going to ask you to be first today. Beryl Williams is the founder and president of the Caribbean American Poetry Association, a nonprofit organization dedicated to the rich cultural heritage and diverse voices of Caribbean American poets. Born in Dominica, the nature isle of the Caribbean, Beryl began writing and reciting poetry during her formative years. She performs at cultural, religious, and special events in the United States and in the Caribbean. Beryl's poems have appeared in anthologies and two collections, A Pebble in My Shoe and Zandoli will be published soon. Please let's give a really big round of applause and welcome for Beryl Williams.
Thank you so much. Well, hello, poets and friends. Um, and greetings from the Caribbean American Poetry Association. It's really a delight to be here this afternoon. Thank you to Chip Williford and to Poetry Street for inviting me. And congratulations also to Poetry Street for the the decades long journey of bringing poetry to this community, Long Island and beyond. My first poem is entitled My Island is a Poem, and it's just because I'm from the Caribbean, I just wanted to talk about an island this afternoon. My island is a poem. Nestled in the azure sea, Shankar's shells hold his sacred song of ancient buried cities, the haunted calls of ancestors, and mysterious melodies of the deep. My island is a poem, majestic against the clouds. Clandestine caves show primeval etchings of warrior Kalinago tribes, forefathers' bones, and tablet treaties with his god. My island is a poem, laced in ribbons, flowing from Edenic springs, meandering into silvery rivulets that feed his flowery beds and nourish his dense green forests. Ah, my island is a poem. Arms outstretched in wanting embrace, I need only to step into that tender place, into my island, my poem. The next poem is a little, I don't want to say angry, but it's kind of heading there. Um, it's an expression of frustration that phrase produces whenever there's a crisis that will be described in the poem. And these incidents are occurring much too often. So here it is. It's called Thoughts and Prayers. Thoughts and prayers and thoughts and prayers. Open fire at birthday party in USA, in my town, USA. Drive-by shooting in her district, USA. Shooting spree in your shopping center, USA. Carnage over cannabis in their locality, USA. Massacre of students and teachers at our school, USA. Murder of his family and his household, USA. Candlelight vigils, midday memorials, collective remembrances, moments of silence. They drag on into untimed, untamed trauma. While the refrain resounds, thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers. What thoughts? It's their child, sister, brother, mother, father, lover, husband, wife. It's their school, house, church, street, town, USA. It's our Second Amendment dogma, defense, rights, USA. It's our guarantee to life and liberty in this, our USA. What prayers, incantations to gods of stone and wood and ice? empty chants that do not heed the sixth precept, thou shalt not kill, or follow the greater commandment, love thy neighbor as thyself. Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers do not wipe Rachel's anguish tears for her children. Thoughts and prayers do not fill empty spaces at dinner tables, in sacred pews, in classrooms, in our hearts. Let thoughts translate into acts that shield the ones we love. Let prayers reflect policies that keep the blameless before the one above. Thou shalt not kill, USA. Love thy neighbor as thyself, USA. Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers. Thank you. It's a special treat today because I'm hanging out with my mom today. And so, Mommy, it's just a pleasure to have you there. My mom is a retired reading teacher, so my love of words comes directly from her. You know, everybody in our family read like a 2 or 3 years old, and that's a tribute to you, Mommy. Thanks for coming with me. This next poem was actually written as a tribute to one of our pastors who was leaving my church. And he had a way with words. He was also a pastor, very spiritual person, but he was also a college professor. So he toyed with language a lot, and you'll hear some of that. Um, uh, the poem is called Who's Listening to the Preacher? Roadside preacher got a word from the Lord. He says, rain is coming. There's going to be a flood. But who's listening to the preacher? Stammering preacher wanted murder, first degree. Mighty abolitionist, parter of the Red Sea. Who's listening? Who's listening to that preacher? Hey, depression-ridden preacher, running from Queen Jezebel, told Baal's priests to pour water, and they saw the fire of hell. But who's listening to the preacher? Who's listening? Who's listening? Runaway preacher heading off to Tarshish found himself in a boat, then in the belly of a fat fish. Who's listening to the preacher? Who's listening? Who must listen to that preacher? The preachers of the ages, ordinary folks like me and you, prophet, deliverer, teacher, sage, Noah, Moses, Elijah, Jonah, so many mouthpieces of their age, said, come on, people, you know what to do. But who's listening to the preacher? Saying, what you saying, preacher? Preacher turns up the volume. If I say I will not mention him, nor speak anymore in his name, there is in my heart, as it were, a fiery burning flame. Preacher shouts, and it's shut up in my bones, and I cannot hold it in. It's what I must do, tell the people about their sin. What you saying, preacher? Who's listening? Who's listening to the preacher? Preacher sees the congregation donned in Sabbath best, but he knows the masks they wear and the severity of their tests. So what you saying, preacher? Frog in a kettle, savior or swine? Does the devil know my name? Who is my Valentine? Power in the beat, not the bunny. What to do when haters hate? Well, that's not even funny. What you saying, preacher? Who's listening? Who's listening to the preacher? What you saying, preacher? Who's listening? Who's listening to you, preacher? Preacher testifies, I'm innocent of the blood of all. Every time I'm in the pulpit, I make that special call. And I did not shrink from declaring to you the whole counsel of my God. Who's listening to the preacher? That's what you're saying, preacher? We're listening. We're listening. We're listening to you, preacher. Thank you. The next poem was written for the funeral of my uncle's wife. She was my aunt, my mom's brother's wife. And it just captures the essence of who she was. And it was written in August, so um, that's why I'm reading it today. It's called Martha's Rest. Sunflowers peek above the window where sheer yellow curtains move to the dreamy cadence of the afternoon breeze. It's August when summer's lull is sultry, soft, and sweet, and Martha is called to rest. Time insists that Martha, lady of the house, takes her repose from life's delightful toils. It's August when Martha served her guests cold lemonade on immaculate doily trays, her dulcet laughter tinkling with the melting ice cubes as she paired the sweltering drinks with warm apples in perfectly latticed pie crusts. Her soft hair framing a gentle face, her manicured hands without a trace of toil. It's August when Martha reached her pinnacle of cordiality. While others listened, she embraced the ministry of service, hospitality without ostentation. You know, Martha means lady of the house, giving, caring, loving, sharing without wanting, without recognizing what a gem she is. It's August when Martha seeks her repose, August when the bird's song is low as the hum of a sweet lullaby. It's August when sunflowers finish their bloom and the sheer yellow curtains sway in the evening of Martha's breeze. Thank you. And every time I read that, I think of Auntie Martha. I think of her elegance and her amazing dishes and the way she served and the way she was such a lovely, lovely Dominican woman. So here's to you, Aunt Martha. For people who know me, my mom and I just ran here from church, actually Patchogue Seventh-day Adventist Church, to make it here. So I keep the Sabbath. That's one of the things that people know about me. But this poem is a little bit of a revolutionary take on what the Sabbath is. So here goes. Um, it's a homage to Sabbath keeping, but it also poses a really relevant question as we are in this Labor Day holiday, and it's called Remember the Sabbath. Remember, which means don't forget. Remember, remember, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy, 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 holy. Work for 6, on the 7th, rest, 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 dressed in fashion's best to sit on cushioned pews for servings of good news. Rest for the blessed. Is there Sabbath for the stressed and the rest? Is there rest for the teeming throng, laborers who need a Sabbath song? The night watchmen, policemen, firemen, day laborers, all-night storekeepers, ditch diggers, construction workers, plumbers, bus drivers, gig entertainers, poets, bartenders, garbage collectors, soldiers, teachers, senior caregivers, childcare providers, those who labor for minimum wage, those whose work never make the page. Who grants these workers a Sabbath? In 6 days, their work is never done. So we pray for rest. For that teeming throng, oh, let there be rest for the unsung. Lord of the Sabbath, grant them a Sabbath. Lord of the Sabbath, grant them rest. May the toil of their hearts and hands be Sabbath blessed. Amen. And my final poem, I don't know if I'm running short on time or long on time. Too long, okay. Oh, I should have brought one for the last, okay. So this one, so I'll read this one before. It's just a little bit about how much time just goes. And here we are already at the end of summer, and I feel as though it should be Memorial Day now. So here's a reminder that time is ticking. Can't turn back time. Can't turn back time. Hands of the clock move to the rhyme of an ever-present tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. And the face of the clock lowers her gaze on the sunrise, sunset of fleeting days. Tick, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. And the body of the clock lets the sands pass, a steady fleeting through her hourglass. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. And time's eyes mock, and the shock of time's race affirms, can't turn back time. Tick, 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 tick tock. My final poem is a prayer. So it's called A Prayer for Today. Gracious Lord, I accept today as your special gift. Grant me the will to use today as a blessing, to love and care today, to live and share today. Grant me the grace to surrender the shackles of yesterday's mistakes, to release the burdens of yesterday's guilt, to accept forgiveness for yesterday's sins. Grant me the wisdom to surrender my anxieties about tomorrow, to acknowledge that tomorrow is not guaranteed, and to rejoice that you hold my tomorrows. Lord, I seek your tender mercies today. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is not promised. So just help me to live for today. Amen.
Oh my goodness, Beryl Williams. Let's give her another round of applause. How beautiful was that? Ah, okay. So every time there's Poetry Street, it's like a prayer, honestly. Um, oh my goodness, I got this. Because, I couldn't possibly introduce our next reader without the bio because I scarcely know her. Our next reader is one of the founders of Poetry Street. She is here from the Pacific Northwest, where she's been living, I guess, for almost 5 years. We were awfully sorry that she moved, but happy that she's close to her family out there. She's poet laureate of her county. Let it be known that Susan rules, okay? Once she got there, she started cooking, and now she's cooked. I am so happy that she's here. Everybody's happy that she's here. Let me present Susan Dingle.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Chip. Thank you, everybody. And how wonderful to get to read with you, Beryl. It was just good for my soul to hear you. Thank you so much. Could we just have another acknowledgement? Yeah, I really am such a total fan of the poets of the Caribbean. I've been reading Derek Walcott. I mentioned Kwame Dawes. If you don't know the poetry of Caribbean writers, you are in for a treat. They are amazing. We just had an example. So wonderful to hear you, Bill.
Susan,
Yes,
would you lift the mic, the large mic?
the large mic. This,
Yes.
is it lifted? Are we good? Okay. Um, I I just wanted to choose a few poems to share with you. I love this technical
There
thing.
you go.
Okay, we're good. Okay, we're good. I would like to read a couple of poems from my first chapbook Parting Gifts. And they're both short, so I'm just going to read them and so just let there be a little space between them. This is called Golden Ticket. Check this privilege. I did nothing to deserve or earn and am free to deny. Like it's all just razzle dazzle, good business sense, coincidence that made my daddy so rich, my mama so good looking, and me so rebellious in my private school uniform, a trophy girl at the yacht club in Annapolis, where we sip martinis and Manhattans at sunset, survey the harbor dappled with sailboats served by dark-skinned waiters in white uniforms. I am ungrateful and drink too much, with no idea how much I will have to lose before I exchange the golden ticket for the hallelujah ride. Not another journey. Sometimes neon signs have to be outlined in fire across the heavenly plain just so you can find something to explain. Still, you don't know whether you are leaving or arriving. You blow on the ashes, see embers raise. Still, you don't know. And this is gratitude. That old magnolia out by the barn buds first, furred husks cleave open one by one. A mammoth umbrella of opening, big blossoms, petals rain down a fusillade, the driveway flowering with the fallen, a massacre, abundance, more than even that old magnolia could hold, an avalanche of flowers on the ground, cornucopia above, no matter how hard the rain, this flowering of ancient days. And here are two poems from an unpublished collection. I don't know about you, but some of us get hooked in every April to that thing of writing a poem a day. And so this was an effort from back in 2018. The collection, unpublished, is called Love in the Days of Dialysis and Old Age. This is April 4th. A machine absorbs toxins from your blood. A labyrinth of tubes turns pink as your blood threads through the lattice and back into your vein, purified for 3.5 hours, 3 times a week. You say afterward you feel drained. Your body vibrates, still worrying. You ask if I can feel it too. Sometimes I do. Each month you bring home a report, a star or smiley face, congratulating you on your protein level, reminding you to eat vanilla pudding, eggs, and kale, and avoid ice cream, cold cuts, and potatoes. Some patients arrive in a van, their wheelchairs steered by an orderly, but you still drive. Sometimes I still wish we could go to Italy, but why? There's no dialysis in Italy. And even if there is, why go all the way to Italy for dialysis when it's so convenient here? This is April 28th. I listen to the water boil,
decide to throw away the gift box from Saks Fifth Avenue, Italy. My new boots came in 3 years ago, and I thought I would use it for something. It's too nice to throw away, my mother would say, but you can drive yourself crazy that way. Today, the magnolia tree out by the barn is in full blossom. I post on Facebook, look what this magnolia is up to. Each bud breaks open at the same time. Petals flop over purple inside and white outside. Each year I worry, will the tree be as magnificent as last year? Or have wind and rain knocked down so many buds there may not be enough? I know so little about abundance. Thank you. This poem I'm reading especially for Gladys. I don't know, are you here, Gladys? Gladys here? Well, whether or not Gladys is here on the screen, she is with us always at Poetry Street. So this is for reading it for Gladys Henderson. It's called Big Sister in the Promised Land. I am a big sister, and this is kind of in memory of my little sister Judy. Big Sister in the Promised Land. Bring me your broken stuff. I will hand out slick prayers and wristbands. I drive into a tree at 90 miles an hour and walk away. I am made of steel, densely packed as any molecule on the surface of Mars. People look at me like I'm crazy. I hand out leaflets on how to be grateful. I took the laundry down to the washer, set it on fire, then call 911. It is embarrassing when dinner guests ask what happened to the tablecloth. I know you didn't mean it. It was all my fault. I did not see the silver lining. You were always so positive, like when the wind blew the roof off the house and you say, now we can see the stars. I said, in a hurricane, there are no stars. Now I am sorry. I stole your dream and instead you got diabetes. You were so hooked on sugar, you kept a refrigerator in the living room. You couldn't throw anything away. Two of us patched together with bleeding prayers. At last, I tell the truth, and it will set you free. But it is too broken to make any sense. When the language betrayed us, this is how I cry. This is what it looks like after 40 years in the desert when you see the promised land. I used to visit my son in the Pacific Northwest, and the poem will say all you need to know about it. This is called Googling Zion, and it begins with a Bible verse from Psalm 137, verse 1. By the waters of Babylon, there we sat down and wept when we remembered Zion. While we are driving, you ask what Zion means. This name so common out here, a church, a town, a bowling alley, where redwoods pierce the sky on the mountain across from Mount Hood in the Pacific Northwest where you live. Your son in the back seat listening as we drive to his ball game. And I promise I will Google it, but I forget. Until this morning on the East End by the Peconic Bay, I Google Zion, a small mountain in Jerusalem where the Ark of the Covenant was placed, the hill of Jerusalem on which the city of David was built, God's dwelling place. If only the history of Zion were that simple. Although at the Mount Zion bowling alley in southern Washington, it is easy to rent shoes and bowl a frame or two, where the Ark of the Covenant is placed. So if you want to find it, you have to go there, wherever the blessed covenant dwells, sacred and apart, yet always with you. Zion, the mound where your son stands to pitch for the first time, and 2 generations watch from behind home plate. And, this poem, I was
I'm reading this in honor of the Shinnecock people who, as we all know, are celebrating their powwow this weekend, which is supposedly one of the biggest powwows in the country. It's a magnificent thing if you have a chance to go. And also the Shinnecock are in the paper once again, because once again, they're deciding how they want to use their land, and they're not asking anyone's permission. Oh, well. So this is for my dear brothers and sisters, Shinnecock. It's called a Psalm with No Apology for the congregation of the Shinnecock Presbyterian Church, October 21st, 2018. As footnote, as the kind of thing that can only happen here, I was invited to preach at Shinnecock Presbyterian Church. I, who am the descendant of the original settlers who started all the trouble in the first place. These people are very tolerant. Okay, this is a psalm with no apology. This morning, the big field is vacant. Sets of metal bleachers face each other, uninhabited. 2 empty cars on the far side, a sign that says, slow down. It is October, the slow time between seasons, when reverence is all I bring for the elders who meet on Wednesday at 6 p.m., for the driver of the vehicle who tails an unfamiliar car on this road toward the burial ground. I do not know who the ancestors were who trod this field, the generations who worship here between seasons after the powwow. This morning, I speak from the pulpit to Native people who have invited me, beloved community, who pray for children, suffer from substance abuse, violence, and trauma, outsiders who were here first, that we may witness and find refuge in this broken land where grandmothers in the back pews still offer stubborn prayers. How am I doing with time? 2 more. Okay, good. Okay. Okay, so I would like to read a poem that I wrote for my granddaughter. My son and his wife adopted 2 little girls from the Republic of the Congo some years ago. And I'm not gonna say anything about that, but my granddaughter Lucy is now 10 years old, and I wrote this in her honor. Sunday afternoon with my granddaughter doing Valentine's. My granddaughter in a bright pink fluffy jacket, pink poof on her headband, wears short afro today. How adorable, you say, but it's not like that. We're just doing what we can. I hold the bag of treats and Valentines I told her mother I'd help with, but she turns on every light and the ceiling fan, eats barbecue chips at the counter, then strums a ukulele painted orange and black, whose strings go plink and plunk, and asks if she can walk outside in the yard. In the rain, I ask, and she says yes. So I give her my special umbrella with stripes and faces she calls a machine when it clicks open, with thick metal spines I never saw as a machine before. I watch the stripes and faces, a little girl under her machine visiting the trees. Later, it's time to come back inside, and I read the names of classmates from a list, ask her which of 2 Valentines she thinks they'd like, and what color would she like to sign her name. Purple, she says, but she's at the piano now, sounding out the keys. No Valentines, but chords. She's playing chords today. Okay, one more poem. But unfortunately, I have like 5,000. And the one I was going to read, I actually forgot it's over there on my phone. I may read it next time. So, when I went out to the Pacific Northwest, I didn't really believe that volcanoes were real, but they are. This poem is called Picnic at the Volcano. I never saw a volcano before. I will take a picnic. Bring baguette, notebook, and pen. Maybe write a lunch poem like a New York poet did when he visited the sculpture garden at the Museum of Modern Art on West 53rd Street. I will call it Picnic at the Volcano. I follow a blue arrow through fog, uphill 3,000 feet. Bridges over valleys I cannot see. Evergreen rows wrap these slopes in a paper pattern. Geometric firs, 40 years after the north side of the mountain bulged and burst a blood river, fire flood, and rock flow. That morning, ending life for people down the mountain whose names are raised on a granite stone plaque, a memorial across from where ashes fill the emptiness with that quiet, like after an apocalypse. Generations pass in a minute, and wildflowers rise from blasted tree trunks. A chipmunk runs across the path. A map depicts the lava flow, a timeline near the parking lot, but I have no appetite except for prayer, confused by the clarity of mountains, the horror of valleys. Driving down the mountain, I speak a different tongue. Oh, sister mountain, brother trees, did you know one day our mother would explode in rock and fire, in tongues so vast this vista opens like a fan when the fog dissolves, how this landscape could eat you alive and then from the ashes bring you back again. The corduroy velvet green hillside wraps me like a glove.
Susan Dingle, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let's hear it one more time for our features. Beryl Williams, the wonderful, and Susan Dingle, wonderful. I'm going to turn the mic over to Chip Williford, who will begin the open mic. And again, one poem, please. Okay, Chip, let's go.
Let's give it up one more time for Beryl Williams and Susan Dingle. Oh, I'm so glad Maggie's going over there. Maggie, while you're over there, can you tap Bubby on the shoulder and ask Bubby to come up? Bubby, can you stop right there and tap Susan on the shoulder and ask her to come up? Maggie, can you come on up also? Now, I don't know if you knew this, but 2 months ago, we celebrated our 10th year anniversary of Poetry Street. And it's because of these incredible people standing beside me here. And we were recognized by the town of Brookhaven. Yes. With a proclamation, as well as the town of Riverhead. Well, I'm here to tell you that the Executive Board of Suffolk County also is presenting us with a proclamation that's personalized to each of us. And it is my honor to present them to each of us, each of you, today. Susan Dingle. And to Maggie Bloomfield. And to Robert A. Bubby Brown. And now whoever wants to read the top of that would be awesome. But if we could just get a photo, that would be awesome. Over there.
Love you, Linda.
Great. Thank you so much. Whereas we celebrate the 10th anniversary of Poetry Street, we honor a decade of vibrant voices, heartfelt verses, and profound community connection. This milestone is not only a testament to the enduring power of poetry, but also a celebration of the space Poetry Street has created for diverse and dynamic expressions of the human experience. It's a moment to reflect on the artistic journey and shared moments of inspiration that have defined the past 10 years, and to look forward to the anticipation of the continued evolution of this beloved haven for creativity and connection. And then it's, thank you. So we are so honored and so grateful to have both of our founders here. I mean, what a wonderful, wonderful experience this has been for the last 8 years that I've been involved, and to know that some of you here has been here from the beginning, like Nina DeBell, Bill Batcher, Steve Kramer, Maggie Bloomfield, and Claire Lunsberg, who we are so grateful for running Zoom land. And we really appreciate you all being here today. And so now let's start the open mic. Sorry, this is my friend Benny Cologne, you know. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, Benny.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. It really is. And 10 years is a long time to do anything. So congratulations to each one of you. High tide at Halleck Landing Beach. Same spot, same car, with umbrella, blanket, and chair, you rush to the sea. Down rocky embankment, across blacktop parking spots to the beach, and nothing escapes the sea as the tide rushes in. Wave upon wave lap at your ankles, gentle and constant, incoming tide, August 24th, 2024, Halleck Landing Beach, Rocky Point, New York. Beach bifurcated by the runoff pipes from last week's deluge. Two of them so high a child could walk without crouching. End cap, moored, still holding the remnants of branches and leaves, ruminating the salty mash of lost toy balls, plastic bottles, and the wreckage of a dozen paper sailboats. High tide floods all, a beachgoer's chair left unattended, a bag, sandals, a towel, and water mug to my left, getting dangerously close to the surf. I've not seen hide or hair of him since the settling at the tip of the beachhead. He appeared maneuvering his inflatable paddleboard to the shore. I gave a nod and advised I had moved his stuff at least 3 or 4 times. He thanked me, and then, as he disassembled and rolled the board into its carrying bag, as the tide line got even higher, he left as water rushed past my ankles. In tiny waves broke in succession. A couple walking their dog as a seagull scampered by. The whole beach becomes a wedge. More water than sand now. Facing north at the tip of the isthmus, 6-inch waves break like magic. No laboratory could replicate. Algae-colored wonder of youth. Magic healing salts of the sound. Your surprisingly clear water only occasionally dotted with red and brown. To experience high tide, feel the water rise as you sit knee-deep in the red lawn chair in the sea foam and wonder how high the tide will rise, thinking about full moons, rough surf, and eroding seabeds. Who's to know? Who's to care? As the dogged couple leaves, the tide turns and then recedes, and you look around in the grandeur of it all, relishing the splendor of it all, and then you too pack up your things and start to leave. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vinny. I was just thinking about Smith Point, how the beach is so small now. It's like the waves are just come in and the beach is like so narrow now. Okay, so Claire, who do we have on Zoom land that would like to read?
First up, we have Megan, followed by Judy.
Awesome. And Megan is going to be one of our features for next month. So please come back next month. Megan Doers.
This poem is called The Life of Shoes. I called high heel shoes teacher shoes, clicking against cool tile as though every decisive footstep held the answer to a question. I decided that I wanted to wear shoes that announced to the world that I belonged. When, as preteens, my best friend and I slipped into our first pairs of heels, I was ready for my stride to ring. But my feet ached. I wobbled. I swapped the high heels for sneakers. Over the years, I tried the latest fashions, but always came back to comfort. As I listened to shoes clatter down halls, run to their next destination, tap with impatience, slide across dry summer grass, slosh in puddles of time, I learned that no two footsteps are the same. And even though they may strike the ground with assurance, we're all a little unsteady, no matter what shoes we wear on our quest for answers. Thanks.
Go ahead, Judy.
Thank you. Kudos, Chip and Maggie and Susan and Bobby. And thank you, Beryl and Susan. What a wonderful read. So I have a drabble, 100 words, something new. Late nights. At the office, distant echoes of traffic, steel girders settling, even lingering laughter left over from the day. But I'm here, texting other offices, shuttered for the night, when a ping tells me someone else is working late night, trying to catch up on paperwork piles that would combust in a single flick, worries up in smoke. But I cannot be that person any more than the 5 on the nose, out the door runner, kicking off work clothes, kicking back. Check my phone. Oh, yes. My fave late nighter asking me what I'd like for dinner, or will I stay late enough for breakfast? Thank you.
Now, J.R. Turek is definitely one of the hardest working people in poetry land everywhere. Judy, can you tell us what you're doing on the 19th?
The 19th is going to be so special. You should be writing it in your calendar right now, because I am going to be hosting with the most amazing poet on the planet at the Poetry Place, Sycamore Avenue in Bohemia. I will co-feature with Chip Williford. Yay! Very exciting. What are you doing, Chip?
Boy, am I excited. Thank you so much, Judy. Okay, so if you're familiar with Poetry Street on the Road, you should be familiar with the film Poetry Street on the Road. The film, the next speaker here is on episode number 2, or it could be episode number 3 of Poetry Street on the Road, Julie Scar. Let's give it up again for Julie.
Hello. So good to be here, see all these smiling faces. I've missed you all. It's good to be welcomed with open arms. So there's a hole I've got to bury myself in, but it's a long shot. The soil beneath the surface is too stiff. I'm on a mission to move, to heal before I perish, and I will make it grand. I put a name to my chagrin and planned over it with 100 white daffodils. I wonder if, when Jane Kenyon wrote this book, she would have in mind a prayer for the living and those who've lost control. I wonder if she would be mollified if ever she knew the text is what aided me in the hospital, reading each page to myself, pacing to and fro in the small, sacred room, repeating after each page, 100 white daffodils, to the point where another patient repeated the name back to me, this to be my salvation, a prayer in itself. I abandoned everything for magic in these moments, and by chance, this is the book my mother thought to bring to me for my stay. I wonder if 100 white daffodils could be planted in my name, or if I could bring myself to plant them in the names of those who wish so very badly to simply be understood. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie Scar. One of the nicest ladies you'll ever meet is Jen Mara. Jen? Jen! I said, you're one of the nicest people I know.
Gotta lower that way, Jen.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
I'm sorry.
So nice, you're gonna whack.
There you go.
Okay. This is called Aftertaste. I can still taste the exit wound from the bullet my body held long after the shot had been fired. I stayed still, allowing shards of shrapnel to hit and lodge and live in my skin, not running from this prison, nor putting the past in its rightful place. But now, I walk in the present tense, holding only, but still holding, that bitter aftertaste.
Thank you, Jen. And Claire, who do we have next on Zoomland?
Next, we have Bruce, who's going to have to remind me of his last name, followed by the Ambassador of Peace.
Hi, everyone. It's Bruce Johnson. And you can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. This poem is called Dominion. And I wanted to thank Beryl and Susan for reading. It was wonderful. And always Maggie and Chip. Dominion. In its season, a flower issues from hot earth and lifts its petals to the light. Daisy sisters join in by the dozens, a riotous rite in the spring meadow, a sudden ballet of color. Wildlife dances and the forces of nature build to a music humankind may choose to hear or ignore with ears that heard well enough the lines telling of man being made in the image of the maker and the words that told of dominion, and believed them and still believe in that charter with its rights and privileges. It's easy to plow a field of flowers under, to fell a stand of trees, to take what nature built and reform it into our image. To carpet the land with concrete and asphalt and weedless lawns. Not so easy to remind a sovereign of the duty that comes with power. Can the rose of Sharon's beauty give a strip mall builder pause? Consider the choices made when loggers face the redwood forests. If we are the ladies and lords of creation, are we to be stewards or end users? Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. So, ladies and gentlemen, from Cleveland, Ohio, the Ambassador of Peace.
Hello, everyone. This poem is Still 'Tis Thee, No Blame. It's about love. It's about God. It's about life. Oh Lord, though my romantic heart may break, still 'tis thee, O Lord, I love. Without kingdom, me take. So true, I dread the hard, great dreams that may yet come. Still 'tis thee, O Lord, I love. Yes, yes, every hour closer some. And oh, my Jesus, cry I have, truly more tears may cry. Still 'tis thee, O Lord, I love, knowing my pain, ye shall lips by and by. How sad, so lonely, my romantic heartbreak may be, but still 'tis thee, O Lord, I love, knowing surely, truly, forever thou shalt come. If I never receive the ring with an ease, and we never have a wedding night, live life to its fullest and be happy. Only two people in love can be right. If I love you and you love me not, loving you bears no shame. And if caring about us you forgot, I still care, but no one I blame. Some people were blessed to be happy, while others must live broken hearted. But all shall be made right in heaven above. But God loves all in the end as he started. Now my love is unconditional, you, whether you're with me or not. But the highest love is spiritual. Peace to you, abundant God. I shall always love you, and in heaven I'll love you still. Although right now I'm not your wife, God knows best. The future is it. Now, if in the end you should love me past the day you die. For the only peace there is in love is open underneath the sky. There's no shame in honesty, no place for regret and joy. True love bears no much. Sincerity is eternal. If I should ever find another love, you can truly believe they were sent to me from God above. Peace to me and you. Forever I shall love you. I no longer can forget you. And letting nature be to peace of mind within each day. Amen. I thank you.
Amen. Awesome. And it's so good to see you again, Pamela, the
So
Ambassador
wonderful.
for Peace.
Thank you.
Okay, next, we're going to come back here to the Riverhead Free Public Library and ask Bill Batcher to please come up in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Bill Batcher. Give it up again.
This is a mussel shell I keep on my desk. The thing is that Monday would have been our 64th wedding anniversary. And this was a poem I wrote for Carol some years before. We walked the sand hand in hand together. The tide has paved the beach with mussel shells, abundant black and silver host. 2 shells on every mussel, or is it one with 2 members? 2 holding, gripping, clenching, clutching, moving, serving as one. We walk the sand hand in hand, pondering. Here are some young and small and full of hope, unaware of struggles, storms, and strains yet to come, but confident in their paired condition they hold secure. We walk the sand hand in hand, remembering. Here others are mature and worn, still sheltering the treasure ripening between them. They have learned well how to survive the tempests, the assaults. They know they need each other, for one shell is but half and cannot do the job alone. We walk the sand hand in hand, concurring. But here are some now empty, their halves spread open, yet they cling together, determining to still be one. Although their chore is finished, they enter Now another phase, a time to rest upon the sand. We walk the sand hand in hand, enjoying. Thank you.
What a beautiful tribute. What a beautiful tribute. Gladys Henderson, who now resides in Zoom land. We're going to ask her to read, please. Gladys, if you can unmute and please read. Thanks.
There you go. Thank you. Can you hear me? So sorry, I'm late today, everyone. But I'm here finally, and I'm reading this poem. It's about my thoughts about the mothers, certainly, as well as the fathers who have to see these children who are being part of the war issues that are taking place. A mother searches heaven's rooms. You roam heaven's rooms calling out his name over and over. But when you find the children, death still rising from their fragile bodies, you draw them to your breast, cradle them. It is his face that looks up at you. The nail wounds closed, the pierced side no longer bleeds. You hold him once again, and heaven is silenced from your cries. Thank you.
Thank you, Gladys. Okay, Daniel Rogers is here. He's come here a couple of times, and we're so glad that he came back. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Daniel Rogers.
Yes, the name of this poem is called Lost in the Clouds. Lost in the clouds, black and proud. The time is now. Fear not, for God is on top. I can see heaven through the clouds. Every knee shall bow. Lost in the clouds.
Thank you, Daniel. Also from featured on Poetry Street on the Road is one of our mothers of Poetry Street. Ladies and gentlemen, from episode number 3, Nina Yabel.
Incredible day. So thank you so much, Chip and Maggie and Susan. So great to see you. And Beryl, the poetry is beautiful, just exquisite. Just loved it. So I'm sort of departing from my usual lyrical poetry. This is called The Physicist at the Pool. The professor had been deep in thought, contemplating perfection. Similar patterns of stars and brain, inner ear and sunflower, cerebellum and cauliflower. Bathing in the power of mathematics, the golden triangle, Fibonacci. The morning sun was burning, an exploding nova. The ladies in flowered bathing suits, sun hats, crepey skin, pampered hair and nails burst through the gate. Their chatter echoed through the perfect blue and heated pool. Perfect blue sky and heated pool. I can't stand Louise. She's so, because his cat was sick, where's my ring? I made souffle last night and was really, I love your earrings. Sound just like your husband. Tom and I went to see that movie. He sunk into the fabric of his chair, fingers in his ears, and muttered imperfect designs of photons. Thankful for his own arrangement, he returned to the mystery of the cat in the box, quanta that danced together a million miles apart, and retreated to a parallel universe, forgetting to use the suntan lotion.
That's Nina Yabel, everyone. Okay. Claire, who do we have now on Zoom?
I think it's just me now.
Oh, okay. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, give it up to the mistress of Zoomland, Claire Lunsford.
Thank you. This is a poem I wrote for a grief workshop, and it needs its own poetry to be workshopped in its own poetry forum, but I can tell you some of it was written on hope and it has come true. Do not begrudge an ailing loved one's death. Death is but the briefest moment in time, and who are we to begrudge anyone the passage? From this life filled with its daily trial and tribulations, pain and sufferings, and endless waiting for release, awakening then unto the eternal life promised. Just one short sleep past where death is no more. Our loved ones are returned to us whole, standing, walking, running, laughing, crying, singing out of tune, restored to an image where their internal light shines forth in every vision we hold of them. Time will tell when it's fitting they return to us in dreams, but they shall never be far, just an instant summons of their love to surround us, all simply for the asking, for the remembering. For they have raged against the dying of the light for as long as suited them, till they heard the beckoning of a spectacular kingdom of heaven, till they trusted we would be all right, till they embraced that good, gentle night. Do not begrudge them their death, and don't begrudge yourself the healing. Hold them up in love, cherishing their memory, arriving at peace, if only for a small fraction of our day, and eventually replacing grief with hope. The tether of love ensures we will be reunited with our loved ones, and then only in the next briefest moment of time will have passed, and all will be forgotten, save bliss.
Wow, thank you so much, Claire, for that beautiful poem. I know that that's Marsha on Zoomland and also Ordornian, and I know I messed up your name, and I hope that you can come on and tell me how to say it because I think it's beautiful.
Chip, it's Idorian.
Are you going to read for us?
I'm not gonna. I could read, but I'll have to keep my camera off if you don't mind.
Oh, that would be awesome. Okay, thank you so much. And Marsha, we're going to ask you also if you want to read afterwards.
All right. This is. I don't have a name for it, but I'm just gonna read it. I'm doing better, but no one lives forever. But everything happens for a reason. But all things work together. But it was the will of God. But I'll meet you again. But I still miss you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Marsha, would you like to share?
Hi, Chip. Hi, everyone. No, I'm just joining to listen today.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Go ahead.
Yes, next time.
All right, sounds like a plan. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Okay, so
great.
we're going to come back here to the River Hill Public Library and ask Samela Carroll to please come and read. Let's give it up. Welcome to Poetry Street. Oh, awesome. Let's give it up.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Beryl Williams is my auntie, so it's a pleasure to be reading one of my poems in front of her. So this poem is entitled No Right. I have no right to call you, so I won't do. I already know, after everything, you shouldn't have the time of day or night for me. I have a million things to ask you, but I cannot bring myself to. I have done too much to warrant you even looking my way. I know if I turn for help to you, I will find everything I need. But look at the state of me, torn, bruised, and raggedy. It is not pride that stops me. It is the harsh chill of reality. No matter how generous you are, and I know you give it freely, I don't deserve anything from you at all. I know I can be bold, but even I would never dare to petition you to save me. I have done nothing to merit your favor. In fact, I have done more harm than good. How can I ask you to rescue me when I led myself into calamity? I and I alone chose to turn onto the perilous road. I have no right to see you, but Lord, do I want to. At least test if your door is open and if you will let me come home. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Maggie Bloomfield.
Okay, this poem is a sestina. It's a child to an old woman, and it's dedicated to a woman in my childhood who taught me to tell stories. When I was a child, there was an old woman. It seemed her whole face was a wrinkle, and knobs stood up on her hands. She struck me as a relic, wearing a navy blue dress. There were cabbage roses on her dress. I couldn't name them as a child, but recognized a vintage relic worn long ago by women, roses big as her withered hands, her sleeves worn and wrinkled. I thought she was a walking wrinkle stuffed in a navy dress with long bony hands that reached for a child. I could not recognize the woman as more than a relic. I feared this relic would trap me in her wrinkles, that the old woman inside the cabbage rose dress would capture this child with her bare hands. The sight of gnarled hands created a perception of a relic instead of a human woman whom age had wrinkled, longing to touch a child, seduce her with a flowered dress. But then I saw beyond the dress, touched the flesh of her hands, offered the warmth of a child, warm enough to soften any relic, to smooth her wrinkles, release the beautiful old woman. This woman was no relic. Her wrinkles and her ancient hands were redressed by a child's touch.
Oh. So beautiful. Now we have two more features here in this room, and I dare not read behind either one of them. So I'm going to read now. This is this is a poem that's inspired by a sculptor. The Seed organization has a program where a sculptor is paired with a poet, and they feed off each other. So this was inspired by a sculpture using marble, foam, linen, and wood. Naturally is the name of my poem. Half awakened, lodged in phantasmagoria, where time does not exist, huge amounts of weightless layers of optimism drowns an event horizon, presents as falling in the mist. Testing gravity, a door shuts, opening portals where nothingness matters. Atmospheric showers engulfs ideas, syncopated road gases narrowly escapes fading voices of reason, cacophony of yesterday's chatter. Hard surfaces embedded in space, reminisce of defiance reflect spirits of light, remnants of yesterday's wrath. So naturally, here erected a sculpture created in nature, blooming peacefully along this sacred path. Thank you. Thank you. Now the exhibit will be active until October 25th, I believe. Yeah. 25th or the 19th. You better check their website, Seed, C-E-E-D. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Steve Kramer. Oh my gosh. I already have goosebumps. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Kramer.
Thank you, everybody. This poem is probably just about as old as Poetry Street. It's called Wisdom in 3 parts. Number 1, mustard. Mustard does not go bad, my grandmother said as I raised issue with the French's mustard bottle I had just taken from the pantry. The French's mustard bottle advertising the 1996 American Olympic baseball team. This was sometime in 2006. So the mustard had been sitting in the cupboard for 10 years. I don't know, Graham, it has a bit of a wang to it. It's fine. Eat your pretzels, Stephen. Fast forward 8 years and I'm down the internet rabbit hole reading odd, totally unrelated wikis about carronades, 15th century Polish princes, Pakistani lemon pickle when I come across the following tidbit. Mustard can last indefinitely without becoming inedible or harmful. Number 2, Martha. Another time I am parading around on my catastrophically high horse about Martha Stewart doing the time since she did the crime, right after she was convicted of insider trading. And my grandmother said, they're only sending her to jail because she's a woman, Stephen. I said, well, I responded, what about the everyone is equal under the law? The platitudes, Graham. Okay, Stephen, eat your hot dogs and beans. They're getting cold. 2 years later, the world economy crashed because of rampant, unfettered fraud involving much of the international banking system, the large portion of it overseen, authorized, and championed by white men. And though the corporate fines have been steep, not one white man has individually faced charge 1, let alone spent 5 months in a federal prison camp, a subsequent 2 years of supervised release, including 5 months of home confinement, and paid $245,081 for crashing the world economy. In fact, we gave them $431 billion as a thank you for crashing the economy, putting people out of work and wreaking economic havoc for the better part of a decade. 3, wisdom. People are always fond of passing old saws that masquerade as wisdom. You know, she's not really gone, she lives on in your heart. But I know my grandmother is gone, and the heart is too soft and sentimental a place for a woman who was never soft or prone to sentimentality. But I will say my grandmother lives on every time I watch Martha Stewart making another perfect pie crust, every time I squeeze mustard onto a hot dog, and every time from atop my catastrophically high horse, I think I know anything with certainty.
Steve Kramer. If you want more of Steve Kramer, he's actually featured on our film, Poetry Street on the Road to Film, and he's also featured in episode number 6. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Kramer. And now we have our founder, Bubby Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, I love this man. He's also many years Man of the Year. It's like, how many years can you get this award? I don't mind, ladies and gentlemen, Bubby Brown.
Next time, Steve, I go first. It's just great being here. And 2 weeks ago today, I celebrated a birthday, and afterwards, I'm thinking about some of the gifts that I had received, and one of the things that was most precious to me was the friends that I had met along this pathway in life. And this poem says, "You are my friend. I'll gladly tear down a mountain with my very own bare hands. All that it takes is for you to give the verbal command. Should you need to quench your thirst on a throat scratchy and dry, I'll have the whole Atlantic Ocean drinkably purified. The lengths that I would go through to reach a desired end are unfathomably boundless to gratify a friend. Can't take this thing lightly, grip it tightly and strong, 'cause it's a long time or never another one comes along. All I have that you have borrowed, no reason for me to keep track. There is no doubt in my mind that it's all coming back. Most likely it'll come back with interest, although none has been accrued. It's just your way of saying thanks for something you had used. Transcending all distances, adrift through all time, the strength of this relationship, no force could ever decline. Sometimes we go for eons without a word to say, and when we finally do connect, it only seems like yesterday. It's impossible for me to be lonesome. It seems you're always there, that invisible, lingering companion, the one I refuse to share. There's no way I could pay for what you mean to me. Some folks pay oodles for a moment of joy, and yet we share all of this for free.
Okay, all right. Oh my goodness, what an afternoon. Let's hear it for Poetry Street. Thank you, everyone who read. We are going to bring back our wonderful features for an encore. First of all, the wonderful, beautiful Queen of the Caribbean, Beryl Williams.
Well, I've been called a lot of things, but never that. Actually, being from the Caribbean, one of our things, bring something to the party. So I brought some Caribbean candy that you can all taste after. And I don't know, but some of the themes have just been weaving through this afternoon. And this poem was actually written for my brother, my younger brother, who passed away during COVID. And we miss him still. His birthday will be in September, and it's called Only a Matter of Time. But it's the only one that's coming up on my phone, so that's why I'm reading it. But it goes with the themes that we've been talking about today. Only a matter of time. You would have been surprised by your passing, astonished by the sequence of events, astounded that death in his current rampage would stop at your door. Death would wage an assault, snatch what wasn't his, fight with time and appear to win. You would have chuckled that of all people, death would be this random to pick a fight with you. Just the absurdity of it, the arrogance of it, for death to knock out time, time that you had, time to be with your girl, dote on your daughter, do things. You would have dispensed wisdom and comfort with your usual economy, reminding us that death won this round. And though we are shocked, stunned, stricken with grief, death has already been conquered. It's only a matter of time. Love you still, Dave.
Thank you so much, Beryl. That's just beautiful. And now we will bring back the one and only Susan Dingle.
Thank you. This has been a great afternoon. I'm so glad we got to read together. And all of us reading together is beautiful. I'm reading this poem as finale is it was a request. And thank you for reading your wisdom poem about mustard. It lives forever. Never encounter a jar of mustard without thinking of that poem, I swear. This is a poem called Flash Mobs. I spend the evening watching flash mobs in train stations, on basketball courts, multi-level shopping malls, dance, uptown funk you up, uptown funk you up. Ravel's Bolero in a train station in Barcelona, flutes and violins played by passers-by. We are the world. In a bookstore in Sweden, we are the people. We are the flash mob, beginning at the waterfront when one kid spins on his elbows and leaps up as others dance funk you up. Drum sets march into the shopping mall, and a singer announces, we will rock you. At IKEA, when salespeople at their stations start dancing, Mamma Mia, and shoppers drop their bags, they too dance like it's their destiny to sing, dance, watch, smile, hold children on shoulders to see. Cell phones capture this moment no one was planning for except the musicians who remembered to bring their instruments. Oh, flash mobs, even though it's years later on YouTube, and I am sitting in my library alone on Thanksgiving watching Uptown Funk You Up. Don't believe me, just watch. Yes, I believe, yes, but don't believe me, just watch. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, everybody. Let's give everybody a hand. What an afternoon. Come back next month, everybody. Susan, you too. You come back. Yeah, I know. You gotta be on the screen. That's fine. On the screen. Have a wonderful Labor Day. Bruce who read today will be one of our features. Megan will be one of our features. And there is another feature who will remain nameless for a moment because I forgot. But whoever it is, that person will be wonderful. Thank you all for a wonderful afternoon. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Beryl. Thank you all. See you next month. And don't forget to write a line in the community poem jar, please.